It seems I've found the partner I've been looking for all along. And I suppose there was that other guy too, Reus. He was never as close as the rest of us were, but he definitely had a presence.
Mr. Wright, do you notice that the time gap between the letters is rather large?
Witness, you do realize that, given the current body of evidence, you are just as likely a suspect as the defendant? No, Prosecutor Gavin. I actually believe you're right. He didn't see Zak that night. But the part that isn't true is that he saw nobody but himself.
That night, when I arrived to meet my mentor, his corpse was not the only thing in the room.
If Zak isn't the culprit, and I don't think for a second he is, then this Mr. Reus has got to be the key to all of this.
The pathway that precedes us. I'm rather cautious about this situation. The magician family dynamic is intertwined with the truth of how the mentor died entirely.
There must be a reason as to why Valant hid the involvement of Mr. Reus.
We also have to decipher the reasoning behind Mr. Reus's presence at the hospital that night.
Most likely he was sent a letter, just like his fellow magicians.
A third letter from the Master. It's entirely plausible. You know, Wright, there's something quite suspicious about the existence of the third magician. I would encourage you to keep your guard up, as it's likely Mr. Reus was prepared for this revelation.
Sure, but it's nothing we haven't seen before.
Hey, pal, it's Detective Gumshoe here.
Hello, Detective. Aren't you still in the courthouse?
Yeah, well, you see, pal, the vending machine's broken, and I got a guy working on it with me.
All right. What can I do for you?
I need to send a message. There's an older gentleman on his way to speak with you. Doesn't seem to be tied to the case, but the precinct's checking that right now.
An older gentleman?
Painter, I think. Similar green coat to mine. He came around the prosecutor's quarters and asked to find you. We cleared him with security.
All right, I'll keep my eyes peeled. A painter? Why would someone like that be looking to see me at a time like this?
Okay, gotta go. Good luck with the trial.
Always on the ball at the end of the day.
Mr. Wright!
Alakazam!
The Gramarys!
How dare you drag me into this drab chamber? I would never set foot in this decrepit hall of my own volition.
Oh yeah? Because I seem to remember you marching in here without a care in the world earlier this morning.
I have to pat you on the back for that outstanding courtroom performance. You're really giving me hope.
At my own expense.
I understand your frustration, but I'm doing the best I can for my client.
Absolutely.
Valant, the reason I asked you to follow me into the defendant lobby is because I want to know your version of the events.
I am not obligated to answer any of your questions.
The only thing I care about is uncovering the truth. So please, tell me what you saw that night.
Fine. I arrived at 11:50 p.m. sharp, the time specified by the letter. Outside the hospital, I saw Raja, distressed.
Raja being Mr. Reus's actual name?
Yes, his full name is Raja Radens. He was leaning against the wall, shaking like a wet dog. Curious as to why he was there in the first place, wearing an outfit for a persona he cast aside years ago, I walked up to him. He started telling me about how Magnifi was dead when he arrived. I, as any person would be, was confused. Upon seeing the corpse, confusion turned to conflict. Either Raja was telling the truth, or he himself was the killer. However, later on, as forensics uncovered evidence incriminating my brother in red, I decided to side with Raja.
Why was Raja there in the first place?
While I don't know specifics, because we never had the chance to discuss them, the most likely scenario is that he, like Zak and myself, was sent a letter by Magnifi.
If you were still so confident in Zak being the culprit, why did you hide Raja's existence?
Raja himself requested it. He said he wanted nothing to do with the Gramarys, and being roped into this incident would have tarnished his name in lieu of a new career he was planning to build in the near future.
Somehow I don't think this is the whole truth. There's something Valant is still hiding from me, but I don't think I'll be able to get it out of him here.
To think Magnify would still remember, much less send a letter to him, after all that's happened.
It was quite the surprise for me as well, yes. The last person I expected to run into that night was him. Now, is that all?
Yes, thank you.
To think he was also given a fair chance to inherit the Master's trick.
Inherit the Master's trick? Could you elaborate?
I believe this is probably the best chance for me to tell you my version of what happened that night. I arrived at 11:05 p.m., as punctual as can be. I entered the hospital room, and Magnify was asleep. On the table of his hospital bed, 2 pistols in gold greeted me with their shine. The letter said I should shoot him dead, so I picked up a pistol and couldn't. Magnify was far from a diligent teacher, but he still made me the man I am today. So I shot the only other thing I could see in that moment, the teddy right beside him. As it turns out, Magnify wasn't asleep, he was only pretending. Upon shooting the bear, he told me I succeeded in his trial. He never wanted for one of his pupils to end the curtain on his life, as the letter stated. It was a test. A test which would grant its winner the truth to Magnify's essential trick, which allowed many of his more advanced tricks to work. The letter itself was intentionally worded as a riddle. Shoot 1 shot square in the forehead. It never stated which forehead. After he talked to me briefly about how we would meet again at a later date so we could confine the truth of his trick to me, he informed me that more visitors were on the way and pretended to sleep once again. I left the hospital without seeing another soul.
Mr. Enigmar, thank you. At this point, I believe I'm as prepared as I can be in moving forward.
As usual, I have to give you my thanks as well.
You're welcome. I believe in your innocence, Mr. Enigmar.
It's more than that. You've shown that you genuinely care about my family and our history. You're helping us get to the bottom of our troubles in some ways.
I guess I never really thought of it that way. That's really kind of him to say. It's my pleasure to help.
It seems we have more company.
What an interesting looking fellow.
Mr. Wright.
Yes? Judging by the look of this guy, maybe he can tell me when the painter's getting here.
You might not know of me, but I am Drew Misham. I've been fascinated with your impeccable career.
Oh, why thank you.
Lovely to see you again, Mr. Misham.
Yes, Mr. Gavin.
What?
So, Mr. Wright, I take it you're quite familiar with the impeccable careers of the Gramaryes.
Of course.
My daughter, she's been enamored with the troupe, and it would crush her if they never performed again.
With all due respect, Mr. Misham, the Gramaryes have been largely in disarray for quite some time.
Well, I do not know. What I know is that a lot is riding on this case. For her, she doesn't have much to hold on to.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Misham. I'll do my best.
Farewell.
Well, that was odd. Kristoph, how do you know that man?
Now's really not the time, right? Appears as if he dropped something.
Oh, Mr. Wright, is this yours? Your name is on it.
What are you... Ah! A letter for me?
Defendant, the judge would like to see you in his chambers.
All right.
I wonder what the judge wants to talk to him about.
Quite likely he has some questions regarding the case that he'd like to have clarified.
I guess. So this envelope, it doesn't have a return address on it.
Rather curious. Perhaps you should open it.
Could this be?
A diary page!
I can't believe it! This could be really helpful! How do we know this evidence is valid? I want to believe it, but this is too convenient. How can we ensure the validity of this note?
Oh, please, Wright. It's not as if you've never presented evidence with questionable validity before.
I guess. But those are from trusted individuals. I have no idea who this is from.
Your own client? You don't trust Mr. Enigma? Clearly, he dropped it for you, seeing an opportunity when Mr. Misham appeared.
Well, maybe. I feel cornered. This just doesn't seem natural.
I'm only interested in what's best for you. Could you read the letter?
It seems fate's clock will make me wait a little longer. At least only less than 10 swift minutes remain. To all those who have supported me in my life's work, I give thanks. Farewell, Magnifi Gramarye.
The Master was still alive at this point in time? This is perfect. It proves Zak wasn't the killer. The victim clearly wrote this after the defendant already left.
I understand. I don't believe my client would drop this for me.
Defense! You're late. The trial was supposed to resume 3 minutes ago. Let's go!
We better make haste. I'll hold on to the envelope with a diary page inside.
Kristoph! I'm losing focus. I just hope I haven't lost it completely. Mr. Reus, what do you have in store for us?
The court is now back in session. Prosecution, please call for our special witness to take the stand.
A quick rhythm to the proceedings. Just my style.
He just never stops, does he?
Oh, I know. Just keep steady, Wright. Focus on the main act, to quote our client.
Very good, Prosecutor Gavin. Without any further ado...
I request that Raja Ratings, also known as Mr. Reus, come to the witness stand.
Thank you.
Name and occupation, Bita.
Name's Raja Ratings. Retired from the magic arts. Freelance filmographer.
If you're retired from the magic arts, then why are you still wearing that outfit?
Presentation is key in Hollywood. While I may have cast aside the magic, I deemed it appropriate to don this outfit of old for the Gramarye's last hurrah.
Well, someone's excited about this family's collapse.
Much respect to you, mein Freund. Now, we've been convinced of your purpose here. The court has decided that you must perform your own account of the events of that night.
All right, that sounds good to me.
At last. Here's what Kristoph and I have been waiting for.
So when I got to the hospital, I saw Zak walk out of the old man's room with a pistol in his hand. I was fascinated to see a sole pistol lying coldly on the bed. There was nothing else for me to do. I was shocked, but I had not worked under Magnifi for quite a bit now. I walked out and saw Valant. I couldn't bring myself to tell him what was expecting him, so I just nervously nodded to his questions.
Kristoph, was that cohesive to you?
No, not at all. He made a clear mistake. Focus on the glaring issue at hand before dismantling the rest.
That's rather cold, Kristoph. But yes, I'm on the case.
Or you could end the charade once and for all with that diary page of yours. I say that because it seems like Ratings is wasting our time with his unconvincing testimony.
You're right. It's not very convincing. But I still want to hold off if I can help it. I still have no idea how valid this page actually is. Let's work at this trial some more.
So when I got to the hospital, I saw Zak walk out of the old man's room with a pistol in his hand. Hold it!
Mr. Ratings, just for the record, could you please state when you arrived at the hospital?
It was sometime around 11:25, 11:30.
Witness, please try to narrow down an exact time at which you visited the victim.
Sure, I just need a moment to think. Yes, it was exactly 11:30, not a second past it.
I feel like he's specifying the time with that level of confidence just to sound more credible.
Thank you, witness. Defense, you may continue your cross-examination.
I was fascinated to see a sole pistol lying coldly on the bed.
Hold it! Why were you so fascinated by the pistol?
Objection! Relevance, Herr Spiky?
I'm simply wondering why the witness was so fascinated by the pistol when he had seen Zak leaving the room with a pistol in hand.
Herr Wright. How many weapons do people typically bring to crime scenes?
Well, I suppose that'd be... one.
Exactly. Hence why a second pistol would confuse the man with a golden gun.
Brother, have you not been paying attention? Magnifi prepared 2 pistols. The same 2 that were used for the magic trick.
So, Mr. Wright, the witness was fascinated to see a soul pistol. Keep that in mind, would you?
Right, of course.
There was nothing else for me to do. I was shocked, but I had not worked under Magnifi for quite a bit now.
Hold it! I imagine it was still quite an emotional experience to witness your former mentor in this situation. Is it possible your account of the incident was influenced by those feelings?
Objection! Herr Spiky, that is meaningless. Emotions may play a factor, but lawyers are not psychologists who can analyze them. Psychology has no purpose in the courtroom.
Objection! What my counsel is proposing is a strong emotional connection may influence the accuracy of all 3 magicians and their accounts, particularly this witness. The story simply doesn't work for me. The witness trying to rationalize his response to the situation with familial distance.
What?
Kristoph's really laying down the law now. You need anything we can get at this point for Mr. Enigmar.
It is a fair point, defense. As of now, however, no conclusions can be drawn.
Very well. I understand, Your Honor.
By that line of reasoning, this testimony would be the most accurate out of all, as Mr. Ratings would have the smallest emotional connection to the victim.
That is also a very good point, prosecution.
I believe we effectively shot ourselves in the foot here.
I walked out and saw Valant. I couldn't bring myself to tell him what was expecting him, so I just nervously nodded to his questions.
Hold it! Nervous? So, you just had a casual conversation immediately after witnessing this event?
So, yeah, I was nervous, like I said.
Relevance?
Not exactly the most well-spoken of the Gramarys, are you?
Ouch.
Mr. Gavin, that is not the behavior I expect from such a proponent of the courts.
Right. My apologies, Your Honor.
Kristoph, are you going to be okay?
I'll be fine. I just think this is also unnecessary with what you are sitting on.
I know.
Let us proceed in consideration of this testimony.
So when I got to the hospital, I saw Zak walk out of the old man's room with a pistol in his hand.
Objection! Just to confirm, Mr. Ratings, you witnessed Mr. Enigmar leave with the pistol in hand?
Yes, that's right. It was a golden pistol used for an old trick back in the day.
I'm sorry, witness, but that can't be the case.
And why would that be, Mr. Wright?
The court will recall the order of events as established by the prosecution. Zak came into the hospital room and left his pistol there. 2 pistols remained at the crime scene, and 1 was later carried out by Valant, as evidenced by the fingerprints.
It's fake news!
Hush, witness. Let me take this solo. What's to say Zak never returned to the scene of the crime?
Not possible. The times just don't line up. You'll recall that the times of arrival are fairly tight. If Zak had returned at any point, he would have been seen.
Well...
Well, it was dark out. Forgive me for being a bit nervous. It's just the first time I've ever stood in such a courtroom. Perhaps I just mistook something else Zak was holding for a pistol, like a banana or a pair of gloves.
That's true. It's entirely possible for someone to mistake something someone else is holding in such darkness, especially in the context of what you saw later on, Mr. Ratings.
Witness, there's something else I'd like to ask you. Was there, at the scene of the crime, a third pistol?
Definitely not. The man's hospital room was cold and dull. 2 golden pistols stood in the way of the cameraman's eye.
I see.
It is noteworthy that there are only 2 guns when there were 3 magicians called that night.
You're right. Something doesn't quite add up here. And I believe it's more than just the fact that there were only 2 guns for the trick. There's something else here we've yet to uncover.
You know, if you presented a certain vital piece of evidence you've been withholding from the court up until now, we could gain an advantage over the prosecution.
Don't worry, Kristoph, I got this. Witness, I would like to clear something for the court.
Yes?
What did the letter sent to you actually say?
That's right!
Well, it appears there has been a misunderstanding. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, I would like to read my own letter out loud, if that's all right. As an aspiring actor, it would mean the world to me if I could present it.
Weren't you a filmographer just a minute ago?
By all means, please proceed.
To my banished student, Reus.
Hold it! Banished? Would you care to explain, witness?
I don't think I will. No offense, Mr. Lawyer, but it was a personal matter between me and the old man. I don't see how this is relevant to the situation.
Mr. Ratings, the mere fact that it's written on the letter proves it has some connection to the case.
Plucking all the strings, I see. But there's no reason for why we shouldn't call for an encore.
I don't really want to.
Well, if the defense and prosecution are in agreement, I insist you elaborate.
Fine. Your Honor, prepare to be amazed. The old man was not the kindest fellow. Never tolerated mistakes. One day, during rehearsal, I was practicing my fire tricks. When I was distracted, Zak's daughter wanted to show me her new trick for whatever reason, and yanked me aside. At that moment, the prop I had set on fire fell out of my hand and went straight towards the child's face. I quickly put my arm in front of it to block the burning prop. This set my arm ablaze. I tried to quickly put it out, but it left a nasty scar. Magnifi had seen what had happened, and instead of thanking me for saving his grandchild from the incident she had caused, he yelled at me, said I was a no-talent hack that had no place in the Gramarye family, and he banished me right then and there. No warning. I wasn't even allowed to grab the things in my dressing room. Just the outfit used in the troupe I used to know so well.
I see.
Mr. Ratings has clearly seen it all with the troupe.
Mr. Wright, this story provides an excellent motive.
Ah, you mean for Ratings as a suspect? I see your point.
Let's see what we can make of it, if there's any true connection there at all.
To you, I entrust the special task of solving Troupe Gramarye's biggest mystery once and for all.
Hold it! What is the troupe's biggest mystery?
At this point, I can only assume. As you know, I never had the chance to speak to Magnifi properly. The only thing that would come to mind is the lasso.
I've heard about her from my client. What exactly makes her a mystery, per se?
She died in a stage accident.
There is nothing mysterious about it.
I concur.
There's something very off about this. Especially considering his reaction.
Oh. Thank you. But please refrain from talking out of turn again.
Come on the 13th, 11:30 p.m. I will disclose further information there.
Hold it! When exactly did you arrive?
Around 11:30 p.m., as specified.
Notice anything unusual?
Zak walking out of the hospital.
Objection! Defense. I believe we've already been over this. He saw the defendant and mistook something he was holding for a gun.
Objection! There is one more thing I'd like to clarify. Was Zak wearing his magician outfit?
I couldn't tell, it was too dark.
I see.
Were you helping to catch him off guard here?
Yeah. He's more cunning than he first lets on.
You cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why.
Hold it! What reason is he talking about here? Should have figured asking that point blank probably wouldn't result in anything. That's all, Your Honor.
Is there anything significant about the contents of this third letter defense?
There's simply no way.
Hold it! This letter has revealed a deeper mystery in the Gramarye's history.
And that is relevant to the murder of Valant Gramarye in what way?
Let him finish, brother.
The Master wrote to Mr. Ratings with a fairly familiar script, but with one key difference. Troop Gramarye's biggest mystery? I don't remember hearing anything about this before.
I see. Can you identify the meaning behind this? It wouldn't be wise to pursue this further without establishing relevance to the case at hand.
Well, Your Honor, I don't really know the meaning behind this either.
If the defense has nothing more to offer, then I believe this is it, isn't it?
Well, the mystery could play into the motive of the culprit.
Objection! The motive of the culprit has already been made crystal clear through these letters.
I agree, prosecution. Defense, unless you can find a proper correlation between this line of the letter and the crime, I believe this case can come to a swift resolution soon.
I hate to keep bugging you, but the margin for error is getting thinner and thinner.
This is quite treacherous, I understand. But Mr. Wright, you're sitting on an extremely vital piece of evidence. Present it. You could turn this entire case around.
Okay, I hear your point, Kristoph. But I just can't. Not if I can't be sure it's legitimate.
You could be worrying over nothing. Why would you say it's not legitimate?
Hang on. Mr. Enigmar must have told me the truth earlier in the lobby. There's so much to unpack. And I need the courtroom's attention to be placed on him, not on Mr. Ratings. Your Honor, I believe this trial demands a different approach.
Yeah?
Oh. Please, proceed.
The prosecution is correct. There's little to analyze from the letter sent to Mr. Ratings. However, my client has his own side of the story to present, and I believe his testimony could turn the case on its head.
Really? Bringing the defendant to the stand to speak about the crime. If this is a fruitless endeavor, then a verdict will be called. Do you understand, Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. I agree to these terms.
Very well, very well. I could see merit in your strategy. Let's see what he has to say.
It's all such a waste of time, but I suppose I'm too curious to object.
Very good. Bailiff, please bring the defendant, Mr. Enigmar, to the stand.
Lyrical lines of name and occupation, Bita.
Zak Gramarye, magician.
Witness, would you be able to give your account of what happened?
Being forced to recall such a tragic evening over and over again certainly isn't fun. But if I must... At 11:05 p.m. sharp, I entered Magnifi's room. 2 pistols in gold lay on his table. I picked one up and tried doing as the letter instructed, but I couldn't bring myself to. So I shot the only other forehead in the room, the forehead of that unfortunate teddy bear. After shooting the bear, Magnifi awoke. As it turns out, this was a test, and the winner received Magnifi's essential trick. The letter never specified which forehead. The teddy's forehead has always been the intended goal. We only talked very briefly, as others were expected after me. He promised to tell me the truth about the trick another time.
Thank you, defendant.
A nice fairy tale. Though, with no evidence disproving the prosecution's current claim, it will never be more than that.
Well, that is all I had to share, really.
Thank you, defendant.
This wasn't very helpful after all, was it?
Well, I agree, but I'm sure if I just poke a hole or two in there, something will present itself, right?
You aren't seriously considering what I think you are you? Right, you are sitting on the most conclusive piece of evidence this court has ever seen. There would be no point to—
The defense asserts its right to a cross-examination.
Cross-examining your own witness, are we? Why don't you go ahead and object to your own statements while you're at it?
Objection! The defense has a right to cross-examine every testimony, no matter the witness.
Right? Stop this farce! Just present the diary page.
As sad as this display is, the defense is right. A witness, if you would, from the top.
At 11:05 p.m. sharp, I entered Magnify's room. 2 pistols in gold lay on his table.
Hold it! 2 pistols, was it?
One for Zak, one for Valant. Ratings was given a different task in his letter, remember?
Right, of course. Just making sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, just how desperate are you right now, Hair Spiky?
I probably just should have kept my trap shut.
I picked one up and tried doing as the letter instructed, but I couldn't bring myself to. So I shot the only other forehead in the room, the forehead of that unfortunate teddy bear.
Hold it! Why the teddy specifically? Could you not have shot a wall or a shelf?
The letter specifically instructed to shoot 1 shot square in the forehead. I thought it peculiar that Magnify used the words "the forehead," not "my forehead."
So it was said keyword that clued you in?
Yes, it did. I asked myself, had Magnify really wanted me to shoot him in the forehead, would he have used that specific word here? In turn, that got me thinking about what made him choose "the" instead of "my" specifically.
Very impressive, defendant. To be able to discern such a puzzle with just 1 word. Continue.
After shooting the bear, Magnify awoke. As it turns out, this was a test, and the winner received Magnify's essential trick. The letter never specified which forehead. The teddy's forehead has always been the intended goal.
Hold it! It's a testament to your connection as a troupe that you could discern something like that with such ease. Was your decision to shoot the teddy motivated by solving the puzzle?
Yes. Although it is true, even if I felt my master wanted me to shoot him, I simply couldn't do it.
In a sense, shooting the clown was a way out. A solution to fulfill the master's request without resorting to the most drastic option.
Right, exactly.
I could only imagine what it must have felt like to be in that situation. For any of you.
It is as Hair Spiky said. A testament to the connection you had as a troupe.
Indeed.
We only talked very briefly, as others were expected after me. He promised to tell me the truth about the trick another time.
Hold it! Judging by the timeline, you were first to speak to your master. Why do you suspect he didn't share the truth behind the trick with you right there and then?
I don't really know. My guess is that he wanted to make sure he got to see all of us.
I see. That's all I have to ask there.
Alright then, that was probably the most disappointing cross-examination I've ever seen.
You're losing his honest favor more and more.
Whose side are you on at this point?
I believe this little back and forth has gone on for long enough. Defendant,
Yes, Your Honor?
is there anything else you wish to share with the court?
It's about time we wrapped up the party. For a veteran lawyer, your performance was quite depressing. I mean, I was really looking forward to rocking out with you, but this was just a piece of cake.
I guess I have a question.
Yes?
It's a question for Mr. Wright.
I'm all ears, Mr. Enigmar.
Is there really nothing you can do now?
Mr. Enigmar,
Is this all? Is this all the legendary Phoenix Wright can do to save an innocent father? It's just not fair.
There's only one more thing left for you to do. Or rather, I believe there's only one option left. Hard to believe we stand defeated after working so hard. But I don't think we can afford to depart without trying everything we have.
I know.
Don't present the diary page.
Mia? I'm floundering here. It's like no matter what I do, I can't even make the slightest dent. Everything was going so well at the start. Armed with Kristoph's guidance, armed with Mr. Enigmar's intel, the case was ours! I faced far greater challenges so many times over. So what happened? Why is it all slipping away? It's that damn diary page. Everything turned when I decided to hold it back. I can't prove this page is real. I don't even know where it came from. Is putting everything on the line, sacrificing my integrity, the only way to win this case? Is resorting to this really all I have left? Kristoph has been pleading with me to present it this whole time. He doesn't even seem worried. I don't get it. Does he know something I don't? Is he just smart enough to realize this evidence is real and I'm worrying over nothing? What if this page is real, and I'm throwing the trial for no good reason? And Mr. Enigmar, as cornered as I am, he's in 50 times the trouble. His life is on the line. He has a daughter. If I hold this page back, if I do it and he goes to jail for a crime he didn't commit, I separate a family. Mr. Enigmar would give everything he had to protect her. Isn't that my duty too? To do everything I can to protect my client? Do I really give up everything I believe in over one single piece of evidence being possibly fake? I can't take that risk. Letting the truth go undiscovered, taking Mr. Enigmar from his daughter, it's just not worth it. My pride can take the hit. I know what I have to do. I'm sorry, Mia.
Take that!